Not seeing him. Let's give it a few minutes. Barbara, can you hear us okay? I don't see her muted. Barbara? Barbara, can you hear us okay?
I don't think she can hear us. Let me send her a text real quick.
Yeah, she's not connected to
I don't
the
know, but
audio yet.
I feel like they want dinner now.
Yeah, she's not connected to the audio yet.
Okay.
Hey, George, is there a phone number we can call in on as well?
There she goes. Barbara, can you hear us okay?
Yes,
Okay. Stacy, can you hear us? Councilmember Carroll?
Yep.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton?
Yes.
Councilmember Barnes?
Yes, when I get it off unmute, I can tell you.
Okay.
Hey, Clark,
Oh,
just,
well.
just a quick heads up on that. When you look at your microphone where you mute, if you hit the little caret arrow by it, and then you
Yeah.
select switch to phone audio, it'll give you the phone number and
Oh, awesome. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and start. Welcome. This is we're here to meet in a special session of the American Fork City Council on May 5th of the year 2020. Pursuant to COVID-19 federal guidelines, this meeting will be conducted electronically. You may watch the meeting live stream at the referenced site on the top of the agenda. We are running a little bit late. I apologize for those that might just be coming on. We had quite a discussion on our budget and other things before this in a work session. And so it's about 22 minutes after 6 right now. And anyway, item number 1 on our agenda for this evening is a review and action on an ordinance repealing ordinance number Carolyn, I think, didn't we say it was 2020?
Yes, 2020-04-17.
Okay, I'm still reading for 2020-04-17, an adoption of an ordinance establishing a temporary land use regulation prohibiting the filing of new development applications and regulating the construction of building or structures for land south of State Road 145 Pioneer Crossing and southwest of Interstate 15. Okay, now what I would like to do is, much like the last time, I have somewhat of a prepared statement, and I thought it was very clear the last time, and then I went out and was very much misinterpreted as the entire city was being had a moratorium. So I want to be very clear, and I want to read this out loud as part of the public record. On April 28th, the American Fork City Council passed a temporary land use regulation pausing development south of I-15 in American Fork City to allow for further assessment of the city's ability to provide culinary water service to new development in the area without compromising its culinary water system. After the passage of the temporary regulation, the city worked tirelessly to review and reevaluate pending development and the impact each will have on the system. After further review, staff has recommended that the temporary regulations passed on April 28th be revised to allow currently pending development to proceed forward with horizontal improvements, including utilities, roadways, lighting, and open space in an effort to limit the effect the temporary land use regulation has on developers. In addition, those developments that have already received the necessary final site plans and subdivision plat approvals will be permitted to continue to receive building permits. The recommended revision to the temporary land use regulations do not overlook deficiencies in the culinary water distribution system to the area south of I-15, which at build out will result in velocities in the water lines exceeding current design standards and pressure differentials between normal operation and peak demand greater than recommended. Rather, after further review, the city is confident that the construction of horizontal improvements for the pending development will not compromise the culinary system. Moreover, the city will continue to work to secure the funds necessary to construct the needed water line improvements to adequately support the foreseeable growth. And I would like to add to that, of which I would recommend we don't go into details this evening as a matter of time. While this recommended revision to the temporary land use regulation will allow pending development to proceed forward with the construction of infrastructure, the city is aware that the pause on the erection or construction of buildings and structures will still have an impact on developers in our community. As such, we want to stress that the city is making every effort to evaluate multiple financial options and secure the necessary funding for the improvements to the city's culinary water infrastructure. Upon securing funding sources needed for water system upgrades, the temporary land use ordinance regulating development south of I-15 will immediately be reevaluated. Now, if I could just state as well, I think that anybody that is familiar with that area knows that the city council has spent a great deal of time in planning that area and going through a review process. We appreciate our partners, the developers, and all those others that have been in the trenches with us and that have looked for solutions rather than criticize. And we feel very committed to that area. I felt personally a personal responsibility to be able to have something near the front runner station that gives the necessary densities that will help people to walk to the front runner station, therefore maximizing that station. I sometimes think what would have happened if we would have just made it a regular subdivision, and what would that have done to that area? It would have been a lot easier. But the city council, all of us included, we went through the hard things to do it, and to do it in a responsible way. And you know, nobody's looking to get a pat on the back, because no matter where we've turned in this, whether we've increased densities or we just can't make everybody happy. Not the developers, and so we are trying our best. I think if you know us, you know our heart, and you know that we are willing to do the work to find the solutions. And we appreciate, again, those who will work with us. And anyway, that's just something that I've just kind of been, since this happened, this has been something that's weighed heavily on the city council. And I hope that this information will go out in a proper way, and that it will be understood. So with that being said, I'm just going to open it up to the council for just discussion amongst ourselves. Any other questions you might have for staff, for, you know, our legal counsel's on. And I'll mute for a minute. How about that? Council's pretty quiet.
Here, I'll speak.
Please do.
I mostly think I agree this is weighed heavily on me too. And although this is not taking off the moratorium for the developers, which is what they would prefer, I hope they can see this as a step towards something that could help them to continue the development process in a way that would give them the timelines that they need anyway. So I know it's not perfect, but I really appreciate staff and the mayor coming up with some sort of compromise that I hope will be taken and the best way.
I would just second what Stacy has said. I think the other thing to keep in mind is that we're just trying to avert a really major disaster. If we get too much going down there and we end up blowing up pipes or having all kinds of water problems or whatever, it's going to be much worse, I think personally, in the long run for pretty much everybody than just a temporary delay. And that if this does work out the way it may be projected to work out, we're thinking it will work out this way, that we'll be able to get some things done and be ready to move, hopefully within the 6 months, so that there's really not a true stoppage to this. It's a bit of a delay and we understand that, but it's not a real stoppage, and it won't do us any good to build down there if we don't have the infrastructure. So I think that's what we're really trying to solve.
And I think we're all committed to making it as brief as possible and still do the job correctly.
That's where I am. I completely concur with Barbara on that and what's been said by Stacy and Kevin. We're just trying to make it the best situation we can out of a very tough situation.
So if I understand it right, with this passing, the changes, those applications that are already in can continue to go horizontal, just no one can go vertical. Is that my understanding?
Not exactly.
Okay.
So some can go vertical. So if they've already gone through their subdivision plat approval or lot plan approval or site plan approval, depending on whether or not they're TOD or non-TOD, they can go vertical. So there's a few that have already started pulling building permits or just about to pull their building permits. Those will be allowed to continue because those are already in the water calculation. It's the ones that haven't received that final approval necessary prior to pulling building permits that will not be able to pull building permits.
So those that are, and I'm just trying to understand here, those that
Yeah.
already have the horizontal and can go vertical. Is that fair?
If they've received their final approvals for going vertical. Typically, as a general rule, yes, that's accurate, but it's really based on the final step of the approval process to go vertical.
Okay. I just, I look at it and I really appreciate the compromise here and things like that have been said, but I think that we're already hitting anyone that hasn't, if we're gonna let them to go horizontal, chances are that's gonna take them out 6 months anyway to the expiration of this. So I'm just wondering, what's the benefit of the moratorium? Because if we're gonna let them go horizontal and then this expires, you see what I'm saying? It hits that same time frame if we're gonna let them go horizontal. So I don't see any real advantage there to not just pulling the moratorium completely at this point.
I would want to chip in right.
I
Go ahead. Sorry, Councilman.
No, I was just going to say the way I understood it was that the one that we have currently doesn't allow them to move forward in the development process at all, and they wouldn't be able to do that horizontal work.
Okay.
And that's a good point, Councilmember Shelton, that, if the horizontal improvements happen about the same time frame as the city's efforts to secure funding, then why wouldn't we just pull it? And I think it would be appropriate for the council to keep this moratorium, the proposed moratorium, temporary land use, in place in case for some reason we don't get that funding, or for some reason it doesn't happen. The council would have the option to extend a temporary land use ordinance if for some reason that doesn't happen. But they could move forward in the process with the understanding that they can't go vertical. Otherwise, if we just take it away, then as they go forward and get approvals, they're of the understanding that they'll be able to go vertical as soon as they get their improvements in. So I think there's a little bit of a safety with adopting this temporary land use ordinance.
Okay. And it seems to be that the whole thing's tied to the culinary water system. Is that right? And so
Yes.
as I read the last sentence here, it says, it'll remain in place until such time as the city is able to determine and secure funding sources for the necessary water infrastructure. So as soon as we can determine that we have the funding, we need to pull the moratorium. Is that correct?
The council can reevaluate at that time. Yes.
But that's the only legal reason why we are able to put it on is because right now we can't determine or secure the funding. So as soon as we can determine it from a legal perspective, it'd be good to pull that off. Is that correct?
Well, ultimately, without it being put in, we have that basis. I think, and Scott, you may have to chime in a little bit here, but my understanding is that once that funding is secured and the city understands the timetable for the vertical to go in, it will be similar to the timetable of that water line going in once that funding source is secured. So the impact on the system won't jeopardize the system. I guess the additional connections won't jeopardize the system. It's similar to Scott had been saying this whole time that as long as there's that promise that line's going to be built, he felt comfortable approving this development. But as soon as that line couldn't be put in, or there was no foreseeable funding source for that line going in, that's when this kind of all came to a staggering halt, because it's that timetable of securing the funding and having vertical go in at the same time as that line's going in.
Good summary, Sherilyn. Yeah, I don't really have any more to add. Can answer questions, but she pretty much summarized where I'm on this.
So there's one section that we're proposing a slight modification to, and it's because there's one development that has received a final site plan approval in the TOD area. However, they want to rearrange their plats. They want to have the opportunity to kind of reallocate, relay out their plats. The number of units stays the same, but they want to adjust their plat. They've already got final approval. And so Sherilyn, you can probably point to the section. I believe it's in section 2
Section 2, and then subsection 1, or let's see. So subsection 3 here, we've added, oh, this is the one on the screen is the one in the packet. Vendlin, do you have the one sent via email?
There we go.
There we go.
Yes.
So this is simply saying that as long as they would otherwise be able to go vertical, them coming back through, so long as they stay under the total number of units and the total ERCs of their approved plans, they can still go vertical we can still process their amended plans and go vertical with those plans, because it's not changing the number of units or the impact on the system that's already anticipated.
Just one more question, just from the city staff perspective, when do you see, I know this is not something to hold you concrete to, but trying to look at the timeline, when do we foresee the opportunity to reevaluate this and give an okay for development down there fully again?
You know, I can add to that. I just feel like once we get our budget through, I think that we will be, all eyes will turn our attention toward this, and we can walk and chew gum at the same time, and we can, and we have work sessions. And so I think it's a top priority for everybody in the council, myself including, and staff. And so we'll make it such. I don't know if you could say, are you looking for a specific day?
Oh, no, I'm
Are
just
you
trying to
looking
find out
for-
what, is it securing the ability to build that pipeline? Or like Sherilyn mentioned, is it actually building the whole pipeline before we look at removing this?
It's securing the funding, and Scott has already reached out to the Division of Water Resources to look at our funding requisition that we gave to them and modify it to include 200 South. And so they have already been back in correspondence saying, okay, that's fine. Let's get the updated information so that we can look at that and process that. We've also reached out to our financial advisor already to say, all right, let's look at another track. Let's look at the option of going to the municipal bond market as well, trying to see which one would give us the not only the best rate, but the best timing for the project, for the funding.
Did the financial advisor have any estimate on going to the municipal market?
He does not yet.
Okay, thank you.
All right. There's no other questions. I would entertain a motion.
Am I muted?
No, you're good.
I'll make a motion. I move to adopt an ordinance repealing ordinance 2020-04-17 and establishing a temporary land use regulation pursuant to Utah Code 10-9A-504, prohibiting the filing of new land use and development applications and regulating the erection or construction of building or structures for the land south of State Road 145, Pioneer Crossing, and southwest of Interstate 15 for a period not to exceed 6 months.
Council member, could you add as amended? Because we did amend what was in the packet.
Oh, yes, as amended.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll. Was that you, Councilmember Taylor? For a second?
Yes.
Okay, second by Councilmember Taylor. Any further discussion? See none, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Christiansen,
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
All right, Stacy, you got real creative on this last one and doing them all. Can we do the same thing, Sherilyn, or do you want to go through them line by line?
I think these ones may or may have to be done one by one because they
Okay.
have their final approvals.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's.
Sorry.
That's okay. I just. All right, item number 2 is review and action on, let's see, 2A, review and action on an ordinance adopting plats A, B, and C of the AF10 combined project located in the area of 780 West, 620 South in the PR3 residential zone.
Mayor, I'd move to approve the ordinance adopting plats A, B, and C of the AF10 combined project located in the area of 780 West, 620 South, and the PR3 residential zone, and authorize the mayor and city council to sign the plat and accept the dedications with instructions to the city recorder, withhold recording of the plats and publication of the ordinance, subject to all conditions identified in the public record associated with the April 8, 2020 Planning Commission meeting.
I have a motion by Councilmember Taylor,
Second.
Second.
second by Councilmember Christiansen. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Christiansen,
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Item number 2B, review and action on an ordinance adopting AFPD South Plat A Conservation PUD located in the area of 900 West, 620 South in the PR3 residential zone. I think we should take turns.
Mayor, I'll go ahead and I'll move to approve the ordinance adopting AFPD South Plat A Conservation PD located in the area of 900 West, 620 South in the PR3 residential zone, and to authorize the mayor and city council to sign the plat and accept the dedications with instructions to the city recorder withhold the recording of the plats and publications of the ordinance subject to all conditions identified in the public record associated with the April 8th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting.
A motion by
Second.
Council- Have a motion by Councilmember Shelton, second by Councilmember Barnes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Christiansen,
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Item 2C is a review and action on an ordinance adopting the Dixie Farms Plat E1, E2, F1, and F2 combined project located in the area of 900 West, 900 South in the PR3 Planned Residential Zone.
Mayor, I'll go ahead. Barbara, did you want to go?
No, go ahead. Your thumb was faster than mine.
I've had to just take it off mute.
Glad this isn't Jeopardy.
I'd never win. I move to approve the ordinance adopting the Dixie Farms plats E-1, E-2, F-1, and F-2 combined project located in the area of 900 West, 900 South in the PR 3.0 Planned Residential Zone, and to authorize the mayor and city council to sign the plat and accept the dedications with instructions to the city recorder to withhold recording of the plat and publication of the ordinance subject to all conditions identified in the public record associated with the April 8th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting.
Okay,
Se-
thanks for that. Thanks for
Second.
that motion, Councilmember Barnes, and a second by Councilmember Christiansen. Any further discussion? Seeing
No,
none,
I
I'll-
just, oh.
Go ahead,
I
Stacy.
was just- This is not a discussion. This is more just me griping. But this is a beautiful plat, but it has so many cul-de-sacs and roads that don't go through that it does make the connectivity very hard, especially when you're talking about fire and getting there. And I just wanted to point that out. It might be something for us to consider at some point.
Okay. All right, I will call for a vote. Councilmember Christiansen,
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Item 2D is a review and action on the final plat for Lakeland Industrial Park consisting of 4 lots located in the area of 1700 South, 500 East in the I-1 Industrial Zone.
I move to approve the final plat for Lakeland Industrial Park consisting of 4 lots located in the area of 1700 South, 500 East in the I-1 Industrial Zone, and to authorize the mayor and city council to sign the plat and accept the dedications with instructions to the city recorder to withhold recording of the plat, subject to all conditions identified in the public record associated with the April 8th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting.
They have a motion by Councilmember Christiansen,
I'll second.
Second.
second by Councilmember Shelton. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Christiansen,
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Action item 2E is a review and action on the final plat of the Loveridge subdivision Plat A consisting of 2 lots located in the area of 508 South Stores Avenue.
Mayor, I
Mayor?
move to approve the final plat of the Loveridge subdivision Plat A consisting of 2 lots located in the area of 508 South Stores Avenue, and to authorize the mayor and city council to sign the plat and accept the dedications with instructions to the city recorder to withhold recording of the plat subject to all conditions identified in the public record associated with July 14th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting.
A motion by Councilmember Taylor
I
I'll
have a
second.
question.
and a question by
not-
Councilmember Christiansen.
We have not had the July 14th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting yet.
You're absolutely
needs to-
right.
Yeah,
That needs to be updated.
2009.
That's a good point. I would expect this would be in line with all the others of that evening. What was that?
April 8th, I think.
April 8th.
Yeah, that's when it went.
She's still sharp. That surgery didn't hurt her at all.
Would you amend that motion, Councilmember Taylor?
I would, and give thanks that I'm not a news reporter that reads a teleprompter screen, reading whatever someone would put up. So, yeah.
All right,
I think it needs a second.
it does.
I'll do it.
All right, I have a motion by Councilmember Taylor and a second by Councilmember Barnes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Christiansen,
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Item number 2F is review and action on an ordinance adopting the final plat and site plan of Stone Creek Plat D Conservation PUD consisting of 25 lots located in the area of 700 South, 330 West in the PR3 Planned Residential Zone.
Mayor, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the ordinance adopting the final plat and site plan of Stone Creek Plat D Conservation PUD consisting of 25 lots located in the area 700 South, 330 West in the PR3 Planned Residential Zone, and authorize the mayor and city council to sign the plat and accept the dedications with instructions of the city recorder to withhold the recording of the plat and publication of the ordinance, subject to all conditions identified in the public record associated with the April 8th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Shelton,
Second.
second by Councilmember Christiansen. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Christiansen,
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Item 2G is review and action on the final plat of the Edgewater North subdivision located at 200 South, 1100 West in the TOD Transit Oriented Development Zone.
Mayor, I'll move to approve the final plat of the Edgewater North subdivision located at 200 South, 1100 West in the TOD Transit Oriented Development Zone, and authorize the mayor and city council to sign the plat and accept the dedications with instructions of the city recorder, withhold the recording of the plat subject to all conditions identified in the public record associated with the April 8th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Shelton,
I'll second.
Second.
second by Councilmember Barnes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Christiansen,
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Item number 2H is a review and action on the final plat for the Yard Plat A subdivision located at 200 South, 1100 West in the TOD Development Zone.
Mayor, I'd move to approve the final plat for the Yard Plat A subdivision located at 200 South, 1100 West in the TOD Transit Oriented Development Zone, and authorize the mayor and city council to sign the plat and accept the dedications with instructions to the city recorder to withhold recording of the plat subject to all conditions identified in the public record associated with the April 8th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting.
Have a motion by Councilmember Taylor,
Second.
second by Councilmember Christiansen. Any further discussion?
I have a question on this one. If
Okay.
you could pull up the plat, I'm just wondering, I think more than anything, I'm not used to seeing these because these are a little bit different. I'm wondering, Adam, is this lot 13, is it like a alligator? I don't know what you would call it. It looks like a lot, like one side and then long down maybe, or maybe I'm not looking at the lines.
Yeah, I mean, it is, it's shaped a little differently. The underlying site plan that we're reviewing kind of separately makes that make sense. And a lot of that is kind of some of the amenities for the area.
Okay. And then what about, what is 1100 West? Is there frontage there? Like, because the way they have the lots turned, lot 8 and lot 7 turned, is there still going to be a frontage on 1100 West?
For lot 8, the frontage would be interior to, there's a drive through that area.
Okay, so on 1100 West, it's still lot 13. Is that what I'm?
Yes, lot 13 curves around. That's a power line through that corner, that northeast corner there. Or it's not a power line, a sewer line.
Okay.
It is an interesting lot.
Yeah. Okay, this is interesting. I'll need to learn more about how we're looking at these, so I know what I'm looking at. Okay, thank you.
Okay. I have a motion and a second, and I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Christiansen,
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Okay, item number 3 is a review and action on a memorandum of understanding for the Lake City Row project. I'm sure Buck's still on here, but I can't imagine there, unless there's been any new questions that have come up in the last 90 minutes.
Mayor, I would move to adopt the memorandum of understanding regarding the Lake City Road development.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Taylor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Christiansen,
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton,
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
All right, item number 4, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
Motion
moved.
to adjourn.
Have a motion by Councilmember Taylor,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Shelton. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank
See
you,
you guys.
everybody.
Thanks, Buck.
Goodbye.
See you all.